Well, hello everyone. How you doing out there? I'm so glad you could join me. Welcome to this week's Snippets micro message. My name is Margaret Burk with the Gate Church, and happy Monday to you all. I hope you guys had a terrific weekend. Gosh, here in Jacksonville, we have been having some chilly weather this morning. At this morning, of all things, unexpectedly, I am scraping ice off my car. Seriously, and I actually do leave a scraper in my car, believe it or not. Even though I live in sunny Florida, oh, I'm getting little notifications, and so it was quite fun scraping off ice before I went to work this morning. So if any of you Jacksonville people can identify, it's like, hey, wait a minute, we're in the South. We're not supposed to be having this kind of weather, but we do. So anyway, that was a nice little start off for the day. And I absolutely love some of the chilly weather that we get here. It just makes things so nice. So I am certainly not complaining. It was a beautiful day, and I'm looking forward to a really neat week. This weekend was so much fun, and I've been doing a lot of hanging out with my grandkids, and we've been doing little projects, mainly cooking projects. So I absolutely love to cook, and but this last weekend at church, just another really fun time prophetically. And so I'm going to kind of jump right into that a little bit. I do want to let you know that if you're watching this, it's on the Gate Church site. It is on Facebook Live. It's on YouTube. And just want to let you know that Lewis, DeCiana is teaming up with Todd Bentley this weekend. We're going to do some, some conferences, some intensives, basically just encountering heaven. And it'll be a lot of fun. We're going to have some healing nights and some prophetic times. And so it's just going to be a great time with the Lord. And when those two get together, it is pretty much dynamic. So I'm looking forward to that this weekend. But speaking of the prophetic, I love to share on it. I have been in the prophetic since pretty much the get go. Since I got Dippity Dude in the prophetic back in 2003, I got my first prophetic word from Louis D. Sienna, and so much of that has already come to pass. And I'm actually here speaking, and that was part of basically some of the words that I've been getting throughout the years. And so it's just been an incredible journey for sure. And, it has its ups and downs. The journey with God is not always just that little smooth path, make straight, paths and never have to encounter any issues. Well, that's really what makes us grow stronger, is to confront situations and circumstances, and then be able to overcome those things with Christ. So there's a lot of things that I have learned in the prophetic. There's a lot of things that I've learned prophetically. But whenever I engage, and that's really, I know we get into some routines and rituals where we turn on some music and, we do soaking, or we, those are the only times we can really feel or sense God. But God is as active and as near as you believe he is. And when he says, I never leave you or forsake you, when he says that you abide in him and he abides in you, when you come to the realization that he is as real and close as you believe that he is. So if he is in you, then he is always accessible, and you should always be able to hear his voice. And so, but specifically on times where we get together corporately for times of prayer, which we do on Sunday mornings at the Gate Church, at 9:30 to 10, we gather together, and we have a very unique situation there. I've talked about this almost every time I share a prophetic word. We have a very unique situation, and I basically just will play some music because it is such a great vehicle for people to hear from God. God loves music, and so with that being said, it just makes a really nice blank canvas just to allow God to speak what say what he wants to say for that time, for that moment to us particularly. And usually it's for our church congregation and specifically for us. So, but I like to share some of these with you because I believe that they are encouraging. And I also believe that I keep getting these notifications. It's probably binging on y'all. Um, it also, one of the functions of the prophetic, not necessarily the office of the prophet, but the prophetic, is to exhort, edify, and comfort the body. And so I feel like we have so gotten away from the prophetic in the majority of church, and because we're a very apostolic and prophetic community, but there aren't other churches that are as prophetic, or they don't even acknowledge the prophetic or the prophets and the apostles. And so what happens is we got a lot of God's people that are not encouraged, they are not edified, and they are not comforted, and by the prophetic word. Now, the prophetic word has the power to speak forth the words of God into situations, into people's lives. And that word is seed, just like what's talked about in Matthew, the word of the kingdom. And it's speaking forth into people's hearts. And it doesn't necessarily have to be reading their mail. However, it can be reading their mail. In other words, calling out their destiny. And, sharing with them, hey, God sees you. God sees you. And that opens up people's hearts to go, yes, God is a communicating God. He's the God that speaks. He's the God that sees me. And that just brings that connection so much closer. So there's so much I could share about that. But with that being said, I'm going to share this little word that I got because immediately when we put on the worship music, I will tend to just start praying in the spirit. And you've made a little drive to get to church. I usually like to just kind of meditate. I don't usually have a lot going on in my car. I like to keep the airwaves really open, unless I want to just play some worship music or something. And so when I get to church, I'm just setting atmosphere. And doesn't mean you have to. Like when I'm at work, I can hear God. It's just, I don't play music. I don't do that. I can just sit there and think upon him and open up my spirit to him. And I can literally hear and feel his presence. So, yeah, that's so great. Like even now. So anyway, so I will share this. And as I started praying in the spirit, I just kind of kept my spirit open just to listen. And I didn't have any preconceived ideas of, anything that was a commonality or a theme for my week or anything that was happening to me particularly, which sometimes we get that. But all of a sudden I started seeing the wheel inside the wheel, which I just love that anyway, because it's just so supernatural. And so I see the wheel inside the wheel, and then I start hearing the wheel inside the wheel. And I pretty much hear more than I see. So sometimes I'll get a little snippet of something that I see, and then I'll hear wheel inside the wheel. And this is what I heard, and I'll try my very best to read this, because as I am hearing it, I am jotting it down. And sometimes as I jot things down, they are a little sloppy. So, but I heard this, the wheel inside the wheel, up and down, all around, in the wheel, in the wheel, in the wheel, there is a sound of many waters, a sound of the mighty rushing wind. In the wheel, there's the fire. In the wheel, there's the fire and the oil, the burning ones, following with the wheel, burning ones moving in the spirit, up and down and all around, in total surrender, up and down, all around, from east to the west, from the north to the south, the sound of the wheel, the burning ones, burning with passion and revelation, bringing healing to the nation in this generation. From from location to location, fires will start to burn. Unquenchable, unstoppable fire of God. So, wow, that's a lot to unpack. But I feel like in that, he's calling the burning ones, the wheel inside the wheel. And that wheel inside the wheel is, it's like his traveling presence, his traveling throne room. But in that is the burning ones who are passionate and mobile and flexible and flowing. See, we used to always describe the prophetic as being able to flow with the Spirit, to move with the Spirit, because the Spirit is not predictable. However, the Spirit does have like some patterns. You can learn how the Spirit will move, like the ebbs and flows and the ups and downs. And I felt like he was saying, like, stay mobile, stay fluid, stay surrendered to the move of the Spirit, because he wants to move, and it could be up and down and all around. And then there's a sound coming out of the wheel. And it was the sound like a white noise, the sound of a rushing wind, a sound of many waters. And I feel like there's just this healing that's coming, that we're going to hear as we flow with the Spirit for the nations. And when it talks about this generation from location to location, I love how the Lord just speaks to me in rhymes. I mean, it comes so fast, believe me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is actually rhyming. So, and a lot of these things could be songs, and I just don't realize that, because I will sing in the Spirit a lot. But, I just feel like being fluid in the Spirit, hearing his voice, being that mobile, flexible, on fire, burning one, passionately, being able to surrender ourselves and just be able to move with the Lord, move with the Spirit. And I think that we sometimes tune out so much. There's that old saying that I heard very early on when I was first born again, and I was like, oh my gosh, the supernatural is so real. And I remember the church that I was going to, somebody came to me and said, you can't be so spiritually minded that you're of no earthly good. And I know other people have heard this before, and I'm thinking, how does that work? How can you possibly be so spiritually minded that you're of no earthly good? But I think what they were trying to say was that some people get so spiritual that they don't know how to make that manifest in the earth, because we're supposed to bring heaven to earth. We're supposed to be ambassadors of the kingdom of heaven. And so, but when your mind is attached to heaven, then you have access to supernatural times and areas and things that you can speak into the earth. Jesus was the most spiritual, and he was, of course, earthly good. He came with a purpose. That's why we're here. We're here with a purpose. Oh my goodness. So I'm getting in a whole other direction. I could go on and on. However, that was the word that I got this weekend. You can play it again. I did not release it to the entire congregation because it just bumped right into our service. And but I did feel I wanted to share it with you all. I won't always be sharing words, but I feel like there's some that I've been getting these last few weekends that I just definitely want to encourage, edify, and comfort the body of Christ, and just to tune in. And like I said, we get so, so much thinking that we're not able to just focus in on the Lord and experience his presence anytime, anywhere. Seriously. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this week's Snippets micro message. I can't wait till we see each other again next week. And until then, bye for now, and God bless.